Oh, it's good, but I'll take your word for it. You had no pain whatsoever, right?
Oh, I had a lot of pain,
I'm
but
sorry.
it's like everybody's complaining about 2020. I actually love 2020.
You love
You,
2020. Why is that, Glenn Raymond?
I hear sarcasm.
No, we went live and I want people to hear your name.
Well,
Tell me why you like 2020 Glenn J. Raymond.
well, my whole thing is it's we're getting to connect with people that we normally wouldn't connect with, and we also
That's
got
so
out of the
true.
bubble. Like we're at like a lot of people are complaining and arguing right now, and I look and I'm like, what are you complaining about? Like people are finally getting to be with their family more. Um, like you and me, we're connecting right now. We're having a conversation. People are starting to deal with people a little more and get out of their bubble of, oh, I'm too busy, I'm too this, and running around doing nothing, but pretending that they're doing something.
Yes, that's true. There's a lot of good that has come out of the pandemic.
Oh, 100%. I mean, um, like when I come outside like this, people are moving around, they're living their lives. When you go up on social media, it's toxic right now. There's like a lot of toxic over there. Like people are so focused on the elections and so focused on like arguing about mask, the pro mask, anti mask, pro vaccine, anti vaccine. Like everybody
They
just wants to
are.
argue and fight.
That's so true. Let me read the intro that you sent me and do some justice to the beginning of this
I
before
do
we
have a
go
mask with
live.
me just in case.
Oh, that's awesome. I miss the good old days when people just used to mask their feelings.
Now they
That's
sanitize
what
their
I gotta say.
feelings.
They do. And
Yeah,
their
where
feelings are very flammable, just like the sanitizer.
I have a question. Like when you were growing up, what it seems like the kids and like not even the kids, even the adults seem like they're sensitized to every little thing nowadays.
Yes. Oh, hell. When I grew up in the 50s in Portland, Oregon, anything went. Nobody gave a rip what you, if your father cooked meth in the front yard, that was your dad, at least your dad was there, like there were very few divorces. There were, if people drank, they kept it to themselves. Not my parents, they fought in the front yard, but most part people kept it to themselves.
No, 100%. I mean, it's like people were superficial before this. Now I think people are just ignorant. It's like it's really bad. Like even on the comedy side, somebody goes to me, tell me a joke. I was like, tell you a joke. Well, you're a comedian. I go, well, sort of. I'm a writer. I'm somebody who like I write a lot of stuff. I don't believe in like punchline comedy. Like I think a lot of the comedians nowadays they speak so much about dating websites. Like they're doing safe comedy. And to me, it's like, why are you going to do such safe comedy? There's so much you could speak about right now. Like, look at Joe Rogan right now, what he's going through. Comedians are storytellers, truth tellers. I like to say that we're truth tellers. We see things and we speak about it. Like, I don't have an agenda. Like, I could care less about Republicans or Democrats. I like to sit back and watch the world spin around. And I'm looking at the whole thing that's going on, and it's like, it might sound messed up what I'm going to say. So,
Say
disclaimer, it's
it.
2020 disclaimer. But I hope a comet hits the Earth on November 3rd, right before they announce the winner, and nobody gets to find out the winner. Like just that would be fun.
You are one sick puppy, Glenn Raymond. Let me read the intro before people get real tired of not knowing who you are. Glenn Raymond is an American stand up comedian, social critic, and writer. With the pandemic and regular life on hold, Glenn is currently developing a virtual monthly comedy show called Online and Uncensored. In a time where comedians are watching what they say, Glenn tells how he sees it. I kept it simple, he says. He'll get into deep conversation. What's the deepest conversation you ever got into that to this day you regret getting into?
I don't regret anything because I think when you live a life with regret, you're not living life.
Wow.
So to me, it's like good, bad, or indifferent. Just do it. You know,
Okay.
sometimes you have to apologize,
Yeah.
sometimes, but like have like everybody, the new term nowadays is everybody wants to have the hard conversation. Nobody wants hard conversations. They just want to force their opinion on you.
How did you get this opinionated? Is that because you're from the East Coast, or like you're opinionated? I'm like a chameleon. I want peace. I want everyone to love peace. I should have been a hippie.
I grew up, when I got into comedy, I fell in love with Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
I fell in love with George Carlin.
Yes.
So to me, it's like, I don't look at it as opinionated. I look at it more as having a viewpoint and not being scared to speak what I see and what I feel. I think that people nowadays want to censor you if you don't see things the way they see things. Like I feel there's a huge movement of fake positivity going on right now.
Wow.
Like everybody's like, oh my God, I want to be so positive and I want to see rainbows and unicorns and people running around. Sometimes it's okay not to be okay.
Have you ever been just so freaking agitated that all you do is put on a mask and cuss people out under the mask? I've been so agitated.
Well, how is it out where you are?
Horrible. Like I'm in my unit right now, but if I go out the door, there's morons and idiots and skanks and tweakers and hoes, and like people don't know how to. Nobody got a manual for a pandemic, and they're going around willy-nilly doing whatever the hell they want and just looking at you like, mask, and you're like, don't get within 6 feet of me. I used to love people, and now I freaking hate everybody. Everybody's a threat that they could kill me by sneezing or touching me, or God, I don't want to be OCD or nothing. I never have been in fear of my life, but now everywhere you go, you could wind up touching or eating, or it's scary out there. I go out, but it's scary. What about you? You're in the East Coast.
I love it. Like 56 million people die every year, not a COVID. So we have a couple of 100,000, maybe in the world we'll have 1 million people who die this year, 1.5 million from COVID. Before I go any further, I just want to say that my condolences go out to the families and friends of anybody who's been stricken with COVID. I'm not downplaying it.
Right.
I just don't think, unfortunately with the election, I think we politicized it. I think that the media 24/7 is just hammering people with COVID. So I see a lot of arguing and fighting with people. And to me, it's like, hey, I wear a mask when I'm around people out of respect for people who are afraid.
Okay. I'm listening. I just got a very important text, and I want to make sure that's not a problem here.
We're putting out fires.
It's not a booty call. So it's not that important.
No, but I think that the biggest thing I think we need to do is respect each other.
Absolutely.
It's like
so like when you talk about your kind of comedy is like this, and other people's comedy is like, we shouldn't, like my comedy isn't like your comedy. Do you respect my comedy? Because I talk
100%.
about, because I talk about
100%.
real, I talk about being confused mostly because I'm older, and the world has changed, words have changed, you know.
I love words. Like one of the things I do is like when I get on stage, I start off, I introduce myself. I don't assume that people know me. I go out there, I introduce myself. Then I'll hit them with a couple of, just like really edgy stuff, maybe whatever, let's say like something really powerful that's going on, just to see how they're going to react to it. Then I'll pull back into something light. Once I see where they're at, I'll go into something like a philosophical story, something that might mean something to me. Then I'll pull back into something light. When I get like 30, 35 minutes into the set, I put a disclaimer out to everybody, like, to anybody who might be politically correct, sensitive, or hyper emotional. We're about to get into the civics part of the show right now, where we're going to discuss some political and some social issues. Like I did a show recently over in Connecticut, and the first thing out of my mouth was, what was it? I don't think enough people died from the coronavirus.
Holy crap. Oh, geez, you're brave.
Not at all. I'm a stand-up comedian, and the truth is, not enough people have died. If you really think about it, people get emotional when they hear something like that. They don't
Right.
break down the content. What does he mean?
Right.
Back in April,
Where's the punchline in something like that?
well, back in April, the CDC and the government said 2.5 million people would die from COVID in April. Mid-April, they revised the numbers and they said 250,000 people would die in April. 3 days left in April, they said 50 to 60,000 people would die.
Wow.
Now, I look at that as you're promising me all this chaos, all this havoc, but you're not delivering.
Got it. I see. So really the joke is how twisted you see the news. It's not about the death. Yeah, the world too.
If you really look at everything that's going on right now, to me personally, the silver lining is we're alive, we're having a conversation. There's the silver lining. Yeah. But here goes the part that most people don't want to speak about, but I do. All right, we have COVID. And there's going to be families who lose people. And once again, my heart goes out to them. But how about all the people with the mental health issues? How about the people who are getting anxiety, stress, sort of like a battle fatigue, if you really think about it? People are exhausted right now. I think that's the best word to explain everything. People are mentally exhausted.
Yes, they are.
We had a homeless situation before this. That's going up. We had a drug problem before this. That's going up. But nobody wants to speak about that. They just want to, for a lighter term, they want to mask it with a mask.
That's true. That is so, people love being in denial, don't they?
Think about there's a lot of people terrified right now that they're going to be evicted. And we got the government, like, here goes the thing that blows my mind. And I laugh at this all the time. Maybe maybe it's my twisted sense of humor, but I find humor in this. Okay. You have people terrified that they're going to be evicted. The government's fighting about a stimulus package, which basically is give money to the corporations. The small businesses, like in New York City, over 6,000 of them went out of business permanently. The bars, the restaurants. But with all this going on, with the people suffering, the government is going around sending you 7, 8 emails a day asking for a donation for the campaigns. Help us win this campaign with your donation. We're in the middle of a pandemic and they're panhandling. But if a guy who really needs 20 cents or $1 to get a soda or something to drink, they'll put that guy in jail.
Wow.
Think about that for a minute. Like, that's why I tell people, like, stop arguing about Trump and Biden. Like, stop it. Look at what's going on here. Like, this was all orchestrated. 2020, they were like, wow, we have a pandemic. Let's go. And they ran with it. They put Trump as the racist for whites. They put Joe Biden as, the guy who's gaslighting black. Like, they're using race, they're using women. Like, I don't like my grandmother, my sister, my mom, all strong women. I have respect for women. Why is it every election we have to hear, oh, women this, women that? I'm like, all right, you guys are making women look weak when they're not. You guys give birth to children. You handle families. As a man, I look at women as stronger than men. That's how I view it. So I have nothing but respect for women.
Women can tolerate pain. They can be more in the moment and honest about their feelings, know their feelings and speak their mind. And like Steve Marshall says, like with Michelle, they do all the things around the house.
Now, they have a great relationship. I love when they're together and they're doing the shows and so forth.
Me too. It's
I
funny
love when
relationship how some guys don't do anything. The woman does all the repairs. It's hilarious. I never thought about that as I'm part Jewish, and I never thought that I can fix everything in the house. I never thought that had anything to do with being Jewish.
know what I really want to see from women comedians? Um, I've been paying attention to a lot of women comedians, and like the majority of them are doing their sexuality.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I look at that and it's like, okay, it's sort of like a penis joke, but in reverse. Now we're getting the vagina view.
Yes.
But like,
I'm
I want to
tired
see
of it.
women come up there. No, I want to see women come up there and just be like with an attitude and just be like, hey, I'm not an empowered woman. I'm not a individual. This is who I am. Like, I don't think women need to go out there and say, I'm an empowered, strong individual.
No.
Hun, we already know you're strong. Stop feeding into society. Just go out there and be you. Just be you. And whoever doesn't like it, and
I
keep it
go out
moving.
there and I go out there and I say that my self-esteem is in the toilet because I'm a baby boomer. Where do you think I got my self-esteem from myself? I got it from cars honking at me. Nobody's honking. I'm like so confused.
Well,
And then I was
what
like,
was it?
oh good, it's the Me Too movement.
Oh, me too, you too, us too, all of us. I mean,
We're all in this together.
everybody has a movement nowadays. So to me, I'm starting up my own movement. And I think that my movement is something that it's very entrepreneurial and I'm creating masks for animals and pets.
You're doing what? Animals
I'm
and
gonna
pets?
I'm gonna build masks for the animals,
Oh,
and yeah, so this way, like cats and dogs and pigeons, they don't get the coronavirus.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be
It's like
one step ahead of the CDC now.
because if it's really true, why aren't we like putting these on crocodiles and
Alligators, like I think that somebody needs to step up for the animals and just basically show that the animals are being profiled now.
yes, because they did show that a cat or a dog died of the virus.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, other than
they
that,
should put us. They should put us in a petting zoo and have the animals decide if they want to pet us.
I think the animals would throw away the keys and just walk away. Like here goes a funny thing that what a lot of people are arguing and fighting and stuff, and I turn around to them and I say, don't speak to me about policy. I don't care about policy. Obama was, I don't care about Obama's policy or this and that, because at the end of the day, it is what it is. Um, I think he was a respectful man. I think he was well spoken and he was classy. I think that most people didn't understand what he was saying, didn't understand his humor, and they looked at him like, he thinks he's better than us. He's an elitist. Now you got Trump running around. I don't even know what he's saying most of the time. Like when he speaks, I'm just, him and Joe Biden, like I look and I'm scratching my head and I'm like, how? How is, out of over 350 million people, how is this the last two standing?
That's what I was just gonna say. How many people are in America, and why are these the last two comics standing?
I mean, like, did you see the debate?
Yeah, no, I refused.
I didn't want to watch it at first, but then I turned on and I was like, oh my God. Like, my grandfather passed away like 5 years ago. And my grandfather and I were really close. Like, we would have deep conversations and just chat. And he taught me, like, never down another person for their point of view. Hear the person's point of view. You don't have to agree with them, but don't ridicule or belittle them for looking at life differently. Because life is all about perspective. Like, your reality is what you see through your eyes. My reality is what I see through mine. When we come together, we can work on building something like a unity, something bigger and better. And I'm looking at people right now and I challenge everybody, before you open your mouth, before you do the action that you're going to do, would you do that in front of your children?
Whoa.
I ask everybody, like, before you write what you're going to write on Facebook, before you're going to, because I see people like, all right, somebody will go, I'm not happy with society or whatever it is. Elderly people died, this and that. Somebody will come, Trump 2020. They'll just Trump 2020. Then the next person will come, Biden 2020. Then the next person will F you, F you, F you. Like, and then they just start fighting. And I'm like, would you do this in front of your children?
Exactly. That's a
Like,
great litmus test before you do anything. Like, would you
yeah.
do this if people were watching? Because people, Facebook is like the new road rage.
It's out of control. Like, back in, I think, April, May, when the lockdowns were really starting to go into effect over here, I was up on Facebook and like I was finding myself getting angry. And I'm like, why am I getting angry? Why am I stressing myself out? Because some guy today considers himself an infectious disease expert because he read some false article. It's like, look, at the end of the day, yes, there was misinformation put out there. Even Dr. Fauci, it was a new virus. Work together, not against each other. If wearing
Yes.
a mask around a bunch of people when you go into a store can slow down like, people don't comprehend. The mask isn't a cure, and we all know that. It's about slowing down the infection rate. So now we're going into flu season. Wearing them, like, I have no problems. I think the mask should be mandated until March, until the end
I
of flu
agree.
season. And my attitude is this: when we get treatments and vaccines, whether a person wants to take a vaccine or not, it's on them. I don't think it should be forced on people, but it's a choice. That's what makes our country great, is that we have choices. But I think that everybody needs to look at each other and say, hey, right now, the right choice is to work together. The mask isn't going to cure us, but it helps us. It slows things down. And that's all we really need, is to slow it down and contain it.
That's right.
Until we can get the treatment. But people want to argue and fight, and it's like, look, it's a pandemic. Work together. Just work together.
Yes. I just want to know, when they're having a when everybody's running for president and vice president, why do they have to have a debate? Why do they have to do Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan all over again? Why can't they do a Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, they would win the Nobel Peace Prize if they got out there to get along and find solutions together.
Well, I don't believe in solutions because I believe that, as long as we have people in charge, people are always going to have agendas. But if you really, really want to get it in the best interest of us, we the people, get rid of finances, like campaign finances, get rid of it. They don't need the money. They really don't need money for a campaign. You see how you and I right now are here speaking? They could get their message out. They do it on social. I think that politicians should be banned from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think that the politicians are invading our personal lives.
And they're giving away, like, it used to be holy, sacred, what's going on in the White House. Like, our enemies could see it.
There's no such thing as enemies amongst the government. One hand washes the other. It's all theater. In 2020.
If Trump says, I hate the way this, and if they don't straighten up their act, I'm going to push the red button. The people that he's talking about can see it. What happened to the good old days where what they said in the White House stayed in the White House?
Here's the thing. The baby boomers again up there, Generation X, and then you have the millennials and Z. So you have four. The funny part is Joe Biden's actually the silent generation, the generation before the boomers. That I looked at that, I was like, oh wow, we have so many generations right now all at once, and the viewpoints are so different. Like the viewpoints are like drastically different. The biggest thing I think that we need to do is term limits. Senate, Congress, and the Supreme Courts should have term limits. No more career politicians. You come in there because you want to do a job for the people. You go in, you have 4 to 8 years, whatever it is, 2 terms, you're out. Next person in. Get rid of the campaign, all the money that's involved. Basically take the corruption out of politics and put the power back into the people's hands.
You know how they're always trying, like politicians are always trying to get somebody that's in prison to be pardoned? I think that they should turn it around and have the prisoners decide when to boot out a president. Couldn't be any worse.
I think right now Weinstein should be taken out of jail and Trump put in, like, musical chairs with the jail right now. It's so sad what they did.
Yeah.
Like, they had politics and then they had religion. They used religion as a tool. A lot of people started not believing in religion, so the government couldn't use religion as a tool anymore. So now they're using science. And they actually, just in this pandemic, it's really sad what they did to science. They created catchphrases like, believe in the experts, don't question the experts. That's powerful right there. Like, don't question the experts.
Certainly is.
But they have all these things right now, and that's what's causing division, because in America, I know some people are going to get upset at this, but it's fake patriotism. People run around with an American flag. Oh, I'm a patriot, I have a flag. No, that doesn't make you a patriot. It's like any idiot can run around with a flag. Being nasty to people doesn't make you a patriot. Being a patriot is believing in the Constitution, upholding the Constitution, working with each other, caring for each other. Like, we need to get empathy and respect back into our society. Like it's lacking right now.
And
People run around.
ethics.
People are running around with these flags thinking that they're like Captain America or something. I'm looking at them. I'm like, you're making us look stupid overseas. Like other countries are looking at us terrified because we have a lot of power when it comes to military. So think of it as Pinky and the Brain running the most powerful military in the world.
Have you been in the military?
Yeah, I was. So I
felt
kind of,
that.
yeah, I could see, I kind of see things a little differently than average people because of the military. But I feel like my heart goes out to a lot of people because I'm seeing a lot of people like building anxiety and stress through this whole pandemic. So, like what, you know, I'm gonna plug him, Steve Marshall, and his walk with Steve. When I first started speaking to him back when he started the show, he would, like, I saw this guy up on a rooftop showing the pictures of a sunset in New York, and then I heard people blowing their horns and stuff. And then I'm like, wait up, I've seen this guy before. I saw him perform one time in Manhattan. And like he gives so much of himself. Like I really grew fond of him. I look at him as like a big brother.
Yeah,
So
me too.
then I saw you on his show
Absolutely.
and I started laughing because like you're like, oh, I got some jokes. But you go so nonchalantly about your stuff. You're like, well, you know, I was dating recently and I respect all comedy because all of it, like, there's too many egos and people are like, well, this is the comedy that I do. Okay, that's the comedy you do. There's all different types of comedy. And it's like one big
All
pot of
kinds.
stew. You got to throw it in there, mix it up, and just have fun.
Yeah.
I like to
Yeah.
stir the pot.
So
I like people to cringe. I like them to be like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. And I like to push them over the line and then bring them back and have them say thank you. Like to me, that's the ultimate compliment to get them to think and be like, wow, I can't believe you said that, did that, but I like it.
that is so incredible. I mean, my comedy doesn't make people think. And if it does, I don't get a laugh. Like if I say something,
See, I
it's
laughed.
just like I don't know how. They say don't make people think because that will take. If you can make people think and laugh, you're a genius to me.
Not really. You have to look at it in the sense of all right, what is something that means a lot to you as a person? Pandemic
Being
dating?
being prejudiced, having any judgment against anybody. If we're
Okay.
honest, we all judge other people. It's part of survival. Like if I'm walking out my door and I see someone without a mask, I'm judging them for not wearing a mask because it's survival. Or
Okay.
if somebody's on drugs or somebody's driving erratically, I judge. I just jump right to judge. From observing, I'm judging because I'm scared. But then there's irrational judging, which leads to prejudice and racism. I'm so tired of talking to people. You're like 2 minutes into getting to know them, and they have to disclose that they think they're better than somebody. If you listen to initial conversations, and here I am thinking I'm better than those people, so I'm really no better. And it just never ends. I'm tired of would everybody quit thinking they're better than somebody else? I'm not any better. I just
We
have
all
a
die.
different
Like no matter how much money you're worth, no, like money's a piece of paper. At the end of the day, it comes and goes. Like I'm not a perfect human being. I've made mistakes in my life. I think that at the end of the day, when you die, your character outweighs money. And if people can look at you and not the cliche, oh, well, he was a good person. Like if one person could say, you really touched their lives when you pass away, I think you lived a really well, like a really well-lived life. Like anybody could write a check and be like, here, I'm donating this to that. How about instead of donating the money, go out there, get the supplies, donate the supplies, and then put the work in. Like be there with the homeless people. And like I tell people, I'm like, all right, we're all sitting here speaking about how there's so many homeless people and, oh, well, we want the president and this person needs to change things. Okay, how about we the people change? How about we become the progress? Instead of dropping the N-word when you see a black person, or the politically correct thing, which every time I hear this nowadays, it makes like my head spins. Instead of saying black people, they've changed it to people of color. That sounds more offensive to me. Like, look at that, hun. We have the people of color over there. Hey, people of color, come over here, hang out with us. Like it is. Like the more sanitized they try to do, like make the words, the more offensive they sound to me.
Yes.
And then like in the news today, like when they were speaking about Jewish people.
We're not honoring black people by calling them people of color. We honor a group of people by making what we did to them that was wrong by making it right. Like
own it. Don't run away from it. To me, I think the people in the United States, I think white people and black people, but I think white people as a white male, there's no reason to run away from our past. There's no reason to be embarrassed of it. Own it.
Yep.
Just own it.
Own it.
Like, look, our ancestors committed, disgusting acts with slavery. Let's own it and let's start making it better. Let's move in the right direction instead of every 4 years tug of war. Black people don't like, all they want is their civil rights. If you listen to what they're speaking, like, God forbid I was black. If I was black, ooh, it would get interesting because I wouldn't want my civil rights. I would want revenge. Like,
it's
you know what?
So hard.
No, but there's a reason for it. It's like, you know what? I've tried to be a bigger person for so long, and I'm trying to work with you guys, even with all the dark, nasty history. But like every once in a while, like with George Floyd, the man was murdered.
Outright.
Murdered. There's no debate. The cop sat there as if he was posing for GQ magazine with his knee on the neck of a man. I don't want to hear about George Floyd's past. I don't want to hear about his criminal record. I don't want to hear about anything. He was murdered.
Yes.
Murdered. We have a legal system in this country. If he did something wrong, then he goes in front of a judge and then the law handles it, not a cop. That's right. Not a cop. And the people in this country who are supporting that and believe that justice has to be dished out, I believe that one day it's going to happen to them.
That's right.
So to me, it's like black people are tired. They're exhausted. Do they have problems in their community? Hell yeah. A lot of my friends are black. I speak to them. They admit it. They're like, dude, we have a lot of problems in our neighborhood.
Yes.
Like just like rednecks do, just like white people do. We all have problems in our communities.
Right.
But there's one race, human. Color is not a race. Religion is not a race. But we're brainwashed with these labels to divide us. Oh, you're Jewish, I'm Catholic. You're Catholic, I'm Christian. Oh, we're going to say the dirty word now, the word that creates terror, Muslim. You said Muslim. Like, this is our society. And it's like, to me, it's like, heck, you want to have the tough conversation? Let's have it. What do you want to speak about? Oh, George Floyd's record. What about his record? What about it? Oh, well, he did something bad in his past. Okay, we all done bad things in our past. But the beautiful thing about life is that you get a chance to make it right. So let's say this guy was on drugs. Let's say he did try to pass a bad check. It did not deserve a man putting his knee on somebody on his neck to kill him.
No. And you know, you were talking about the GQ pose.
It was
It's
insane.
amazing. That's so, you know, what's amazing about that is that let's say this is the first time that policeman has done this. Boy, he really looked really professional doing it for the first time, didn't he?
He, you said that you're part Jewish.
Yes. This
Can
part.
I ask you a question? That part over there?
Yeah,
have
part.
I have a question for you. This is a question that like I wanted to ask people. And I think
Okay.
it's a smack in the face. Like I have a friend in Germany, she's Jewish, and I asked her this, and her face, like, she didn't want to hear it. Like horrified that Americans speak the way we do. So
Okay.
every time they compare Donald Trump to Hitler, I think that's a smack in the face to the Jewish community.
Ooh.
Me personally. Like,
Tell
first
me
off,
more.
I think Donald Trump is a reality TV show host, nothing more, nothing less, who stumbled into becoming president. He was at the right place at the right time. Americans were sick and tired of politics. They were sick of it. 9/11, the recession, all this stuff. Americans were sick of politics. They voted for Trump. They took a gamble. When you take a gamble on a reality TV show host, it's not always going to be perfect. This is what happened. The Democrats created him as a racist. Back in 2015-16, when they were doing the debates, Donald Trump made a comment that he doesn't like the Republicans or the Democrats. He's going to clean the swamp, or drain the swamp, I think the term was.
Yeah, drain.
When he said that, the KKK turned around and they said, "We like him." He denounced the KKK nonstop. Like he was doing it for weeks. If you go back to the first debate with him and Hillary with the guy Wallace, he denounced the KKK 18 times in that debate. And that's not fake news. So, speed up. They kept calling him a racist. He looked at the supporters he was gaining. He didn't realize like some of these supporters are bad. He didn't pay attention to that. He looked at it as like Trump wants to be liked. You know, that's the thing. Narcissist or whatever, because everybody's a therapist nowadays. So they like, to me, I don't know what narcissist and all this stuff is. I just know he's a guy who he's a showman who has thin skin.
Wow.
And he wants to be
that.
liked. The dude, like he really wants to be liked. And he's not a person who should be president.
Let me get back to Hitler. Tell me what
No,
you meant.
that's where I'm going with it, because
Okay.
I'm building like I don't think he should be president at all. He's a showman. It's like putting Kim Kardashian as president. All right, fast forward.
There's an Amber Alert right now. They have to have one.
It's okay.
Not that I don't care, but it's a Park City, Utah Amber Alert for a black GMC Yukon license plate. It's in Vegas from Utah. I think that should be enough of an alert.
No, 100%. The whole thing on Hitler is when you say the name Hitler, it's the same thing for black people. Every once in a while, you have a black person get killed by a cop like George Floyd, and you're ripping the Band-Aid off and reminding them of the scars that they're trying to heal. Like black people are trying to heal. They don't want to be bothered with this bullshit. Excuse the language. They don't want to be bothered with it. But we keep reminding them. Jewish people, they went through a horrific time in their history with Hitler. Why would a human being bring up Hitler? Well, he's like Hitler. Really? Donald Trump is like Hitler? I would love to know how Jewish people feel about that. especially survivors or anybody who's had family in the Holocaust. I would love to know how they feel about ignorant people over here in the United States comparing Trump to Hitler. That's ripping a Band-Aid off and reminding them of the past that they're trying to not live with anymore. Like they're trying to grow past that.
My parents went through the Holocaust.
Okay.
And the only good thing about them saying that it reminds them of Hitler or this and this is like a Nazi, the only thing good that I get out of that, and I do get some good out of it, is that thank God they're not Holocaust deniers. That's it. That's
100%.
That's it. Everything else, I don't. There's so much worse that Hitler did. On a scale of evil, God's up there going, well, he didn't like Rosie O'Donnell. He killed 6 million Jews. Rosie was a little heavy. I hate to fat shame, but 6 million.
Just putting it out there. I don't think he should be president. I don't think that Biden should be president. I think we need better leaders. I really don't know where this election is going to go this year. Like, I have no clue.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm terrified of, like, I look at the ending and it's like, where does this really go? Like,
yeah.
I have an itch. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be itching, but like, where do we really go to start bringing people back together?
That's the thing. Every person needs to heal now. Now it's not Black versus white, illegal aliens versus true Americans.
We're all people.
Yes, we all need to heal now.
I think that the pandemic, the quarantine, the lockdowns, people not being able to go out to a movie, not being able to go to a real dinner, not being able to go to not being able to go to a concert.
Yes.
All these things we took for granted before are highlighting what's going on. Now we're paying attention to what's going on, and it's not pretty. No. Before, we could hide from everything that was going on. Like, hey, I'm going to go to a concert. You go to a concert, have a few beers, can't come home, go to sleep, go to work. You were in your own bubble. But now everybody's in the same bubble.
Yes.
And I think that everybody's stressed out. And it's like, I think people need to take a time out, slow life down, go outside, smell the flowers.
I have a very good friend in New York, and I spent probably 2 hours ranting to her yesterday about how agitated I am by how I did not sign up for this world. Not that I want to end my life. That's not the point. But this isn't what I wanted to happen in 2020, And I went on and on and on. I got all that poison out of my system. Because
you need to.
Yeah. It's like Steve Marshall says on his show, Don't Behave. He says, get on the roller coaster of life. Sometimes things are going to go your way. Other times they aren't. And it's not right now.
You know what it is? Once again, putting policy aside, when Obama was president, he wasn't involved in everybody's life every day. You barely ever heard of him. Once in a while, you would hear about him. And when he went up there and he spoke, he was almost like a comedian. He'd tell a joke. He'd laugh at his own joke. But he wasn't involved in your life. You were going about your thing. You were enjoying your holidays. You were enjoying your life. The kids who voted for the first time, they won the first time with Obama. They won the second time with Obama. So that was the positive. Like, because I know right now somebody out there is listening and they're like, oh, this Obama he was a fraud. Whatever your opinions are, I don't care. He wasn't involved in our lives every day.
Yes.
And enter Trump, and it's like an enema. Right up in the ass every single day. And we're just gushing out. Sorry for the visual, but it's like, and like, it's like yin and yang, the balance. Like, We had the good, now we're having this. And I personally think that the majority of people who are Trump supporters aren't racist. The majority of them are antagonists.
Interesting.
Look, you have racists on both sides.
Yep.
On both sides. And like everybody with the white supremacy thing, I'm like, the Proud Boys aren't white supremacists. It's a Hispanic guy that runs the Proud Boys. Just putting it out there. You got a bunch of wannabes out there who are running around trying to cause problems. The real white supremacy people out there, like, they're in the woods somewhere. They're not even worried about black, white, Hispanic. In their minds, like, they're so screwed up in their heads, they're in the woods with a bunch of canned food. Like, yeah, we're getting ready for war with the government, man. Like, that's where they are. But you have these wannabes right now. And wannabes are more dangerous than the real thing because they want to prove themselves. And I think that people who don't agree with that need to take a step back and say, hey, we don't have to argue and fight with everybody. You don't agree with me? You know what? Let's agree to disagree. I wish you and your family the best. And you keep it moving.
What's with, I remember the good old days when people would agree to disagree. And that was it, like my dad said, opinions are like assholes.
We all got one.
Yeah. And like, why do we go into, shock when somebody has a different opinion?
Well, my opinion is it's time to move on from Trump. Whether people agree or disagree with that, all I'm going to say is, don't speak to me about the stock market or this and that. Speak to me about the world.
Yeah.
Are we in a better place in 2020 than we were in 2015, or a worse place?
And
we're in a worse place.
Though, I hate politics, and what I want to say on the show is that there are those.
I'm forcing you there.
There are those that are for Trump and those that are not for Trump.
I'm for people.
Yes.
I'm for black people. I'm for women. I'm for Jewish people. I'm for Catholics. I'm for Christians. I'm for people. Whatever your belief is, whatever your faith is, I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to worship or anything, but I support you having the right to be who you are. Be you.
This is who I am. In my world, there are two kinds of people. There are those who are friendly and nice, good to others, and those that are not. So if we have a president who is good to other people and nice and kind, lifts people up, fabulous. If we don't, in my book, he doesn't exist.
I don't look at Biden as the answer. I look at him as the interim president. He's a bridge to 2024. 2024, like, here's how I see it. We have Trump there. 4 years ago, people took a gamble on a guy, and I don't blame them. See, this is what I try to tell anti-Trump people. Stop the hate. Stop it.
Thank you.
Understand that you had a group of people out there when Obama was president who didn't make money. So they looked at Obama's presidency and they were like, and you know what? They're allowed to feel like that. They're allowed. So they took a gamble on Donald Trump. They were like, you know what? The politicians, they didn't trust the politicians, which we really shouldn't right now. They didn't trust him. They took a chance on Donald Trump. Trump came in there, and when it comes to being president, look, I'm not going to make fun of Donald Trump. At the end of the day, whatever he's worth financially, even if he's in debt, he's still worth more than the average person.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call him, stupid, this or that, but in the history books, he's always going to be the 45th president. That's major. That's major. So my hat, I tip it off to him like, hey, you became president. I wish you the best of luck. I hope that you get some years with your wife and your kids and you enjoy some time alone now. But we need to move on from him now. We need to heal as a country. Trump people anti-Trump people, human beings need to look at Joe Biden and say, Joe Biden's not the answer. He's a
Let me ask
Band-Aid.
you a question. Let me get away from that. Let me ask you a question because I didn't
Okay.
thank you for your service to our country. Thank you
Well,
for
thank
your
you.
service. Thank you.
Well, I
What-
didn't
what
thank
rant?
you for your jokes on the booty calls that you're having over in Vegas at such a young spry age.
I was in the Army. What branch were you in?
Army.
What years were you in?
Oh, 90s.
I was in 73. What are you pointing to? Oh, yeah, gray hair.
Yeah, my gray hair, you know, like when I'm like this, it looks good. But then I go like that, and it's just like, hey, how are you?
On both sides? Is it over here too?
Yeah.
It's adorable. Now, where are you sitting right now? You're in New York?
Yeah. I went to the store, and then I looked at the
Uh-huh.
time, and I was like, you know what? I have a brick wall here. I'm not going to make it back to the house. Let me just have a nice brick wall where we could chat. I love
What part of
watching your show, and I love watching the people that you bring up.
Thank you.
I look at it like this: what you're doing is
Yeah.
you aspire to a lot of positive, and you aspire to a lot of like you want to see the good in everybody, and like a lot of the guys
Trying to bring it
and the
out.
girls, yeah, a lot of the people that you speak to, it's a lot of inspirational stuff that they say. So, you know, like if there's one thing that I hope
Thank
that
you.
people, when they look at you, like they really start showing you more and more support on what you're doing, because we need more positive in the world.
Thank you. What legacy do you want to leave in the world?
Oof.
If you died
Legacy.
today, what did you not accomplish if you died today?
I mean, there's some stuff that I'm working on. Hopefully it goes through next year, which it should. I'm working on a special. It's about an 80-minute special that I'm going to do called It's Okay, Blame the World.
Wow.
And I'm going to do it at Carnegie Hall.
Oh, yes. I heard you
So-
talking about that.
Yeah, I'm working hard on that. So to me, it's like legacy. I think this, when you said something earlier, when you were like, how do I feel about your comedy? And I look and I'm like, I respect everybody's work. There's no such thing as the greatest comedian in my eyes. This is just my opinion. There's no such thing as the greatest. There's no such thing as the you're better than somebody else. Each person has a story to tell, and we all articulate it in a certain way. And there's people who are going to like it, and there's going to be people who dislike it. Then you're going to have the other people, which are the critical critics, who just want to be critical of everything and anything. I say, who cares? Go out there, be you, be the best version of you. And just do it. So to me, it's like I'm building something that I can't wait to do there. I'm gonna have the whole thing filmed, and that's gonna be like the first series that I do.
Wow.
And it's gonna be a lot of language. Like I'm gonna really dive into the American language, a lot of stuff that's going on. Like when it comes to everything that's going on right now, I see too many agenda-based comedians right now. And they're pushing, like, I don't think in comedy, this is just my opinion, I don't think you push a religious view. I don't think you push a political view. Like when I speak about politics, my whole thing will be like, screw the Democrats, screw the Republicans. If those two are parties, that's a party I don't want to be a part of. You know, it's like, don't pick a side, because you're alienating your crowd. Like, you can point it out. Like, you know, like I see a lot of the comedians, oh my God, Donald Trump, look at him in the debate. And it's like, oh my God. Like, there's so many people doing the same thing. How about, so we had a bleach lover and a sleepy guy on a stage, and this is the best we got. You know, like point that out. Just point out how ridiculous this debate is, and that we have two more. We have two more debates. Why?
You know who should have debated but never did was Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan.
I would pay to watch that.
I don't want to hear these clowns running for office debate. I want them to get along and make decisions for our good, not yell at each other. And I don't want to hear all the flaws people have. I don't want.
But that's all they keep doing.
That's not a debate.
It's like, all right,
you know,
the kids need to go back to school. The kids need to go back to school. And I'm looking at people.
They never took debate class. They don't even know the elements of debate. It's not even a good debate.
A debate isn't arguing and fighting and yelling at each other. It's you speak, I speak. If I have a question, I'll ask you a question. If you have a question, you'll ask me. We put our two minds together. These aren't debates. This is just polarized reality TV for ratings.
That's right.
And right now, the government, you know, the government is a machine. And they're looking at this like, ooh, the people are divided. Let's press this button today.
You know, like the debate and running for president has become the equivalent of The Apprentice.
Running for president has become like a Viagra pill that doesn't work. Like, it's just like, it's like, what the, recently I was having upset stomachs, and I was like, why am I getting upset stomachs? And it was because of the politics, like just seeing how people are treating each other. It's like,
thank you.
I'm all for a good joke. Like, hey, let's have a joke. But why are people like, I'm like, the stuff people are saying online, I'm trying to figure, like, you ever hear in comedy, somebody will curse and they'll say it's shock value?
Yeah.
It's not shock value. If you really want to shock somebody, you could sit there and be like, well, when I was a kid, when I was being raised in Queens, I was a good boy. I was going to a Catholic school. And I remember I was going into football practice one day. When I came down the stairs, nobody was in the locker room. But I saw my football coach being raped by a raccoon. The word rape right there is the element of shock. You're throwing the absurd thing, whatever, the raccoon. But dropping an F word isn't shock anymore. It's ignorance. There's so many other words that you could put. Now, there are times when you can use a word, you know, like that, to emphasize a point. But I think people have dumbed themselves down when it comes to using the use of language in our society, that they become lazy.
Yeah, because everything that's being said is trite, overused, and hack.
That's why when you hear the politicians speak, they're using dumbed down language, and they're brainwashing people. They're repeating the same thing over and over. Between March and now, how many times have you heard COVID?
17,234.1.
That was just today. I meant the whole time. Like,
way too many times.
But we're brainwashed. We're brainwashed to a point where the mask has become our safety blanket. Like there, I think it was March 16th when everything started happening here in New York. I got a text message from the city. The CDC says, don't wear a mask. Keep the mask for the first responders. 5 minutes later, I got a message that says, the CDC says, you could wear a mask if you want to as protection. 3 hours later, don't wear N95 mask, but wear a face cloth. I got 7 different messages where finally it was like, wearing a mask might prevent the transmission of, that was all in a matter of 20 minutes. That's what, like,
Wow.
people are arguing and fighting, and I understand both sides. Like, I understand the people who don't want to wear masks because most of them are confused. Like, it wasn't handled correctly. One of
That's
my
right.
friends, he always gets he gets on top of people. Oh, people are stupid, this and that. I'm like, it isn't that they're stupid. The average person goes to work. The average person goes to work, comes home, takes care of their family, their bills, or if they live alone, when you're alone, you're inside your own head. You know, you're living in the walls of your own head. The average person isn't thinking about science. They're not thinking about politics. They turn on the news, whatever they hear, that's what they heard, that's it. So when you have misinformation coming like that, it explains why people are like, I don't want to wear a mask, because emotionally they're exhausted. They don't know what to believe, so they're acting like infants, yelling and screaming. The
True.
other side, that's sitting there, you have to wear a mask. They're acting like spoiled brats. They're acting like, I know better than you, and you must do this. Wear the mask. If you want to wear the mask, wear it. You don't have to fight with people. What are
It's
you
not
doing?
like it's a condom and you're having sex with a stranger. You're just out in public.
You you catch me off guard each time you do stuff like that, and I get the little blush. So, see, you made me think about wearing a condom. You said you don't make people think. I thought.
Oh, this is the only time in my lifetime that I have seen so many men wear protection.
I, I look at it like this: it's time for a woman president.
That would be fun to see.
No, I want one, 100%. Like, we already seen what men do.
I want a woman that is still having her monthly because I want to see a woman be erratic and be by the red button. I think that would be a great Saturday Night Live bit.
Think of it like this: a woman president isn't going to be on a golf course; she's going to be in Sephora, and she's going to be there looking at the stuff, picking out what she wants or whatever. And oh, Madam President, so and so, tell him I'll call him back. Yeah, but he said it's urgent. I'm in the middle of the new catalog right now. I'll call him back. Oh, yeah, but he said it's. You know what? Blow him the fuck up. You know, like. No, but all jokes aside, I think a woman president right now, like, when I was younger, they used to say, oh, this house needs a woman's touch. The American house right now needs a woman's touch.
That's true.
It's time to go back to mom. And it's time, like, men need to go back to mom right now and realize like, I believe that we need to start working on mothers and fathers both being involved in their children's lives.
Yes.
And just to throw it out there, I like touching things that other people won't touch. I like to go into it. I respect homosexuality.
You
I
respect.
respect, like, LGBTQ, the lesbian, gays, and everything. I respect them.
Absolutely.
I think that any person, if you love somebody and you want to be married to them, that's your choice. I think that at the end of the day, who you love shouldn't be something that's up for debate. And I think that heterosexuals have to be respected too now, meaning the heterosexual male needs to be respected too.
That's right.
And I think that we need to go back, like, I'm listening to all the garbage and the debates and everything, and I'm like, you know what? None of this means anything to me. Because the biggest thing that I want to hear politicians speaking about right now is family values. I think that it's time to get back to the core problem in the United States is parenting, parents of the children, mothers and fathers being involved with their children. A child should know both their mom and their dad.
And that's another beautiful thing that's happening because of COVID. Parents are now, they're forced to take, time with their children and help teach them. And hell, Worst case scenario, get to know your children.
Yeah, but there's another epidemic, and I'm going to use the word epidemic
Mhm.
that's going on. There's some women out there, and I'm going to call out the women now.
Mhm.
It's, we always hear about the strong, empowered women, but sometimes you got to, when you do something wrong, you need to be called out. A lot of these younger women are running around with the, I don't need a man. Okay. Nobody said you need a man. But if you're going to have a child, the child needs that father. Oh no, he doesn't need the father in this. No, no, no. A child deserves to know both its parents. I think that the family courts and the structure on that need to be redone in this country. I think we need to update a lot of stuff. Like
I agree.
the we need to go back to family values in this country because
Yeah.
it's lacking. And you could see it with the young, like the thing that amazes me with the young kids is the older generation, especially Generation Z, is always, oh, millennials. What about them? Oh, well, they don't know how it is to do this. They don't know how it is to do that. Okay, so teach them. Teach them. Instead of making fun of them, teach them. I love millennials. I
Me
love
too.
Zoomers.
Me too.
Like when you really sit down with them and speak to them, they're wide eyed. Like they want to learn. But they get excited because then all of a sudden they're like, oh, do you know that you could do this on a computer? Because they're raised differently than we are. We were raised very visual in the sense of like we saw it, okay, but then we also like the radio. We heard things. Our minds are wired differently. These kids just search information. Like they're little private detectives. These kids, like
Yeah.
don't do anything wrong, they'll find it. Like
And they hate racism, the prejudice, being mean. They're against it. I love them. They have the right values.
I hear people like they're extreme on certain things, like, but we all are.
Yeah.
Like when they're sitting there, oh, I don't like this, so I'm gonna cancel this. You're gonna what? Cancel? What are you gonna cancel? Well, I don't. You know what? If you don't like something, change the channel.
I
Nobody's te-
went I went
nobody's
out
telling
on
you to stay there.
I didn't know how to relate to young people when I was on stage. I didn't dislike them, but I heard Rita Rudner talking about young people in a negative way, and it bothered me because they're humans. So I made a pact with myself that I wasn't going to do that on stage. I was going to, it's because she doesn't know how to relate to them, or she's afraid of them or intimidated by them. I'm not. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to ask millennials when they see me, what do they see? What do they think I'm going to talk about? What do they want me to talk about? And what don't they want me to talk about? And it helped me transform my comedy into something that relates better to older and younger people. That's where I got a whole lot of jokes from, and they flat out told me they don't want me to talk down to them. They don't want me to, say things about how bad the world is or how much better it was when they were younger. They don't want to hear that, and so I changed a whole lot of my perspective on my jokes because you know what, they're right. And if you want, when you go out and do comedy, it's not just going to be baby boomers out there, and more it's going to be less baby boomers and more young people. So
I love the young kids because when I start pointing things out, like some people will go, "Oh, you're being negative." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Yeah, but you said I'm pointing things out. If people didn't do this, I wouldn't point it out. But I'm pointing it out, and the young kids, like, they come up to you and they're like, "Wow, I never looked at things like that. You've really getting me to think." And it's like with you, with your personality and your voice and everything, I could see you like you could have like the most like just hearing you speak. I already picture you on stage coming out there with your voice and just being like, you know, I'm a baby boomer. And I thought I was getting older. I just realized I'm reaching my peak. Thanks to the millennials and Zoomers, I've learned a lot. I've been watching YouTube. Do you know that there's different apps out there? And then you could just go like off on the apps. Like you could just be there like, yeah, there's a different dating site for this, this, and this. You know? Like you could just have so much fun on that. And then with your personality, like you have a very vibrant, very positive, and like your voice and everything, it's distinct.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
There's so
And
many things to be my whole shtick lately has been how I'm confused, you know, and that gives me so much material because, you know, like I go on my thing to send money by Venmo and I press Vimeo, you know,
everything's
it's
something
just,
else.
yeah, everything. I feel like Mrs. Magoo.
Gilligan's Island Part 2.
Yeah.
Like, no, you have a great personality where it's like, I could see the younger kids really connecting with you because you're putting the effort forward. And the big problem, like I have a little something that's for people to really open their eyes to. Baby boomers, Generation Z are outnumbered by millennials.
Wow.
Millennials have more numbers than both.
Wow.
And yeah. And then you got Generation Z, who just started graduating college this year. Unfortunately, they graduated to this lovely pandemic. But those kids are going to be strong. Those are going to be some strong kids. And Generation Z and the boomers are outnumbered. So this election right here is the last stand because we're never going to have a baby boomer running for president again. Next election is going to be the first time that it's all Generation Z.
Wow.
So the viewpoints, like all this arguing and verbal diarrhea and ignorance that's going on, I tell everybody, don't be upset. Don't. Dig in. Dig in. Don't be angry. Don't be upset. Because this is the last time. They're like 2020, what I'm going to say, and I really want people to hear this, 2020 is the most beautiful year in ever. So I'm going to say something about Donald Trump. Like somebody said to me, say something positive that he's done. His ignorance is his positivity. Because if we didn't have Donald Trump and all the stupidity and everything else that happened during his presidency, these young kids wouldn't have been heard when it came to racism. They wouldn't have. He didn't mean to do it, but his ignorance, his outdated viewpoints brought such a hatred out in this country that the hatred is being beaten and destroyed by the people who want change, but not just change, they want progress. So there's the positivity of Trump's presidency. And it's like his ignorance is changing the country for a positive. But we have to go through a little pain in order to see the beauty. We have to see ugly. And through that ugly, we have to look at ourselves and say, you know what? It was an ugly year, but we're still alive. We're connecting with each other. We're having conversations we normally wouldn't have. And the majority of our country, and we need to really hear that and understand it. The majority wants peace. They want change. They want happiness. The minority part,
Sure.
the little part that's holding on to that little bit of hatred, they got 4 years left. Whether it's Biden or Trump, it doesn't matter. They got 4 years left because in 2024, it's going to be a younger president. It's going to be fresh views. And whether they like to hear it or not, guess what? We're going to become a country that eventually gets a health care for all. We're going to become a country that isn't, you could see it already. We're going to own our past. We're going to own the hatred of our past. It's happening. The change is there.
Cool.
You know,
That
it's
would be
that
great.
we can't look at now and be like, oh my God, like even to you, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of anything. Enjoy it. You're living in a moment where you're getting to speak to different people you normally wouldn't speak to. I love your energy. I tune into your stuff and I watch it all the time.
Thank
And
you.
you're getting to speak to other people, and you, just a basic conversation like this, are putting out to the universe something positive,
Thank you.
and that's change.
I need to be getting closed up for the next interview, but I want to do an honor with you, Glenn. I want to go back and thank you for your service in the military.
Thank you.
We need to underscore this. That is so huge in my playbook, and it should be in every American's, and it's sorely missing sometimes. So since I have to close, and I hate to close because you're so good at talking and interesting,
I just like
I want it.
conversations.
It's
I just like
wonderful.
communicating with people. I like, I just like sharing different views and everything.
I
And I,
love it.
I,
I haven't
I
had a
wish
good
more people would do
conversation
it.
like this in a long time.
Well, I hope that maybe you and I can start a thing right now where people see this and they hear it, and people just start, you know what, let's just close it out on this. I hope that everybody just starts having conversations with each other, forget each other's skin color, forget that you're a woman or a man, forget that you're gay or straight, just look at each other as human beings, show love, and say to yourself before you do it, would you do this in front of your children?
I love that. So, how can we help support your effort towards Carnegie Hall?
Well, I'm going to be getting all the information like in December. So after the New
Okay.
Year's, I'm going to start working towards that once I get a clearer viewpoint of what's
Okay.
going on. I'm going to let the elections and everything play out. It's too much noise. Too much noise. We got to create our own news.
Yes.
And every single day when you do your interviews, you're creating positive news. We all need to create our own positive news to drown out the negative news.
Wow. Thank you so much for coming on and talking. And will you come on again and talk?
Always. I always love what you're doing. I always enjoy your positive energy. So keep that going and moving forward. And thank you
Any
for your service.
Thank you for saying that. And you'd be surprised how many male veterans don't say thank you back to me. I keep track. I have a book.
At, at the end of the day, there's no such thing as a veteran. I see a lot of people always speaking about their credits and what they've done in the past and this and that. Credits are good, but if you don't show respect and you don't show people love, your credits are just basically something on a piece of paper and they're hollow. When you
Yes,
can put something in somebody's heart and make them remember you and say, you know what, I enjoyed being around that person, that's the greatest credit ever.
I love that.
So,
So I want you to come back on anytime you want to have a serious conversation or a funny one, and anytime you want to plug anything going on. Whether you want to come on and talk about Steve Marshall's stuff, or you want to come on and talk about what you're doing with. Do you have a YouTube?
well, not that I'll plug something right now.
Okay.
October 22nd in Stamford, Connecticut at Tutti Pazzi, which is 269 Broad Street in Stamford, Connecticut. I'm doing a show. The doors open at 7:30 p.m. and the show is going to go from 8 to 9:30. And it's called Question Everything. And I'm going to put every single question, everything that could possibly be questioned out on the table. I'm also going to take that show and have it live streamed on Facebook where people can watch it too, who aren't able to make the show.
So it's on October what?
October 22nd. It's
What
Thursday
time
night,
Eastern?
7:30 p.m.
Okay. And it's called Question Everything. And where is it located? What's the name of the place and the address?
Tutti Pazzi,
How do you spell?
Tutti, Pazzi, Pazzi. It's 269 Bedford Street in Stamford,
Bedford?
Connecticut. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. I'll
And
put that on the post.
I appreciate it so very much. But it's going to be a lot
Okay.
of fun.
At 4:30, I'm interviewing Talia Reese. Do you know who that is?
No, but I'm definitely going to tune in.
Okay. I can't wait.
Who is Talia? Please explain that before we go.
Talia Reese is a comedian out in New York, upper area, I think Long
Okay.
Island comic, and she also comes down very frequently to the Comedy Cellar and all those top-notch clubs in Greenwich Village. So she's on the circuit.
Okay.
She's a wife and a mother and an attorney. She happens to be of Jewish persuasion, and I can't wait to get to know her. How does motherhood and being an attorney and a comedian, and like, how did you get to be doing all those things and a regular in Greenwich Village at the good clubs?
All of that put together, she has to have a heck of a sense of humor.
There we go.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can't wait to get to know her.
being a mom, an attorney, and a comedian, I would love to hear her material right there. Right there, it already has me intrigued. Like,
She's gonna be a good debater. You'd probably really enjoy the things she has to say, her perspective.
100%. It's 4:30 Pacific time today.
Yes, I have to send her a link in about 13 minutes, so I gotta go get that going.
I'll let you go do what you got to do. I appreciate the time that you took out today. It really means a lot to me.
I
enjoyed our
appreciate the time
conversation.
you took. Yes,
How about this? We enjoy the time we took out together.
there we go.
We shared time today.
We did.
And hopefully it made a few people think and say, you know what? Let me cut the BS a little.
Yeah, I love this conversation. This is the kind of conversation I would have had with my dad.
Oh, thanks.
I don't mean it in a way like, but do you know how hard it is to get somebody to have a good conversation?
Yeah, pretty much. Most people are lacking substance nowadays.
There you go. Thank you
All
so
ego,
much.
no substance.
Yeah.
So we'll do it on three. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so very much for your time. I look forward to your next show with Talia.
I look forward. Yes. Thank
There
you
you
so
go.
much, Glenn Raymond. You guys,
Thank
that
you
was
very
Glenn
much.
Raymond. Let's support him. Thank you so much. Love you.
You too. Love you too. Have a good
Bye.
night.
Love you. Good night. Bye.